Hi guys, welcome to this stretchy full body mobility flow. It's that perfect routine you want to get back to in the evening after a full day of work to release tension in the whole body and restore after a full day. Do smash the like button and share this video with your friends so I can keep sharing this awesome free content with you guys. We are going to get started in a tabletop position. So hands underneath the shoulder, knees underneath the hips, pulling right elbow back. From here, diving fingertips underneath the armpit, lowering shoulder down. Here we are going to hold this position for 5 breaths. Taking deep inhalation into the belly through the nose. Releasing out the nose as well. Slow exhalations. Getting ready to push up into the center. Now that same elbow is pulling back. We are going to dive to the front corner of the mat, so it's going to go diagonal. We are going to find a stretch on the right side body, so we are going to lower down here. The palm is on the mat. Taking deep inhalations into the belly, out through the nose. Coming back to the center. Now that same hand is going to plant down outside of the mat. We are going to stretch our chest here. So palm on the floor, lowering chest down gently. So you want to find a position here which feels nice on the chest. Shouldn't feel uncomfortable on the shoulder joint at all. So you can hold this position for some time. Pressing back up. Now going directly to the left side. So pulling left elbow back. Left hand is diving underneath the right armpit. Shoulder lowering down. Holding stretch here. So your gaze can follow your fingertips here. Today we are moving slow so we can really release that tension around the body. Our first sequence is focusing on that upper body, so on the shoulder area, which is really much getting stagnated throughout our modern living when we are doing desk work. Super important. On our next inhalation, we are pushing back to the center. Now we are pulling back with the left elbow. We are diving that forward to the right front corner of the mat. We are lowering our chest down here. So that we find a nice stretch on the left side body. So on the left lats really. Connecting all the way down to the lower back. Again, it shouldn't feel uncomfortable on the shoulder. If it does, maybe pull your shoulder down slightly and try again. Try and find a position where it feels comfortable. Again, pushing back to the center. Now that left hand is going to lower down outside of the left side of the mat. Lowering chest down here. Taking gaze to the opposite direction this time. Finding a stretch. Comfortable stretch should feel quite intense on the muscle but not on the joint. So we really want to make sure that we are always just finding a stretch there where we want it. Really targeting the muscles. Pressing back to the center, taking the hand there where we started from, pushing hips back, Slightly stretching here, taking hands to the front of the mat, so all the way, trying to really expand our side bodies, so stretching to the front. And straight away pulling to the center. Now we are going to step our right foot in between of the hands, so the right foot flattens down. We are going to press our weight forward. Here, finding a stretch on the hips, taking gaze forward. This can feel quite intense on the hip flexor muscles, perhaps on the leg that is forward, you might feel on the hamstrings a little bit as well. Holding here for a couple of more breaths. Now starting to shift our weight back, we are going to find a stretch on the front leg in the hamstrings, taking right toe tips up to the sky, finding a stretch here. So the more the toes are flexed up, the more we feel it at the back of the leg here. If this feels quite good, you can stay here or you can lower yourself onto your heels so you can really sit down here and just focus on that stretch without having to work actively being up there. Of course, the active work still remains by pointing our toes up to the sky. And really folding over the leg here, if that feels comfortable. On our next inhalation, getting ready to pull back to the center, finding that stretch again slightly here. And then just stepping back to where we came from, going straight to the left side. So left foot is flattening in between of the hands. We take our gaze forward, finding a stretch here. So how it looks like for you, it's totally individual. It doesn't matter so much. What matters is that we find a nice stretch which feels good on the muscles. Trying to remain super proud here. You can imagine that on your exhalation, you can always get a little bit deeper into your stretches wherever the position is. That's why it's just so important to hold those positions for some time so we can really grant the access to a little bit lengthened muscles there. On our next inhalation, we push the weight back like we did before, taking toe tips up to the sky, finding a nice position where it's comfortable to stay, but it really feels quite intense on the leg that is on the front. So we should feel a stretch there. Depending where your tightness lives, maybe it's on the hamstrings, maybe it's on the calves. Pointing those up here, so it's active all the time. And if you feel comfortable, you can just sit down on your heel wherever it feels better for you. Keep pointing those toes up to the sky, maybe folding over a little bit more on that leg. Deep inhalations into your belly, out through the nose. Trying to relax that nervous system as we are stretching so that we can get better into the positions. A lot of times it's not an issue of muscles that we cannot really get super flexible in positions, but a lot of times it's just our nervous system keeping that or denying that access from us. On our next inhalation, we get ready to get back to the center, finding the stretch slightly here, taking gaze forward and coming back to where we came from. Now we are going to straighten our right leg behind our body. So really intensely, we are pressing the floor away. We are actually stretching our calf here slightly. So the ball of your foot is on the floor and you are pressing your heel back here. So, and at the same time, you're flexing your quadricep muscles so you can really get that leg straight, and that intensifies the stretch on the back chain. Keep pushing there for a couple of more seconds. On your next inhalation, you can lift that leg up, so it's an extension of your body. And from here, we circle that leg behind the body over to the left side. So now we can bend that knee in behind the left knee. So knees are kind of like stacked together, and we can shift our hands slightly to the edge of the mat so that we can find a balance here, and we can push our weight back here. So your key here is to keep your weight equally distributed on your legs. So imagine that the weight is not shifting to one side or the other. And you should really feel a stretch on the right side, glutes / IT band area on the side of the leg. Feels amazing if you can really find that nice position. If you can't feel, make a check if your hips have shifted to the right and bring them slightly more towards the center. Next inhalation shifts you back to the center, and we are going to straighten that leg behind the body. Now we are going to circle it to the other side. So instead of coming to the center, we are going to continue to the right side of the mat. And now the leg is still straight. The foot is flattened on the floor, pressing weight back here. Now, again, like before, you can find your nice stretch here. So you should really feel the stretch on the right leg now. So on the straight leg, on the inner thigh / hamstring area. What helps is if you point your tailbone slightly up towards the sky. If this feels like, okay, I could just relax here, you can bring your hips onto your heels, still keep feeling that stretch on the right side, but you are now slightly relaxed on top of your foot here. Keep your spine tall, keep your hands on the mat because we are gonna go back to where we came from, so we really wanna be ready to pull back to the center when it's needed. Just a little bit more here. Next inhalation gets ready to pull back to the center. Now we circle that leg behind the body, returning it to where we came from, and now we go to the left side. So we press that left ball of the foot on the mat. We really keep pressing here. We want to find a stretch on the calves / hamstrings and make sure that that knee is super straight. So you want to pull those muscles on top of the knee. So imagine that you are really flexing the quadriceps muscles here. Keeping core engaged. Should feel quite good on the calves. Super important muscle group, but quite often a little bit neglected. They do a lot of work all the time, so they really need some restoration work as well. Now, lifting that heel up as an extension of your body, we are going to circle it to the right side of the mat. It goes over. Now bending that knee behind the other knee. Knees are stacked. And we are going to push our weight back, finding a position for the hands where we feel like we can find a balance. So again, imagine your weight equally distributed. It's on both shins, so it's not shifting one way or the other. Just going backwards. That's why it makes sense to bring those hands slightly towards the edge of the mat so we can keep pressing straight back. It should feel super nice on the side of the leg, on the back of the leg, on the glutes. Next inhalation brings you back to the center, straightening that left leg behind the body, circling it to the other side of the mat, planting foot down, now pushing hips back, keeping that leg straight, finding a stretch here, keeping active on the upper body. Either find your stretch here or lower your hips all the way down into a sort of a variation of a child pose. So we are really relaxing here, but our leg is directly to the side, so we should feel a stretch on the inner thigh. If you don't feel the stretch here anymore and it was present before when you were more active, then return to where you came from. On your next inhalation, pulling back to the center, circling that leg behind the body, returning to where we came from. Now, instead of going to the in between of the hands, we are going to step our right foot outside of the right hand here in the front of the mat. We are going to find again a stretch here. Now you can perhaps get a little bit deeper into your hip flexors instead of the leg being on the center. Find a nice stretch here. We are going to hold it for a moment. You can either stay here, or if you already feel quite loose in your muscles, you can probably bring your elbows onto the mat or one elbow onto the mat. So that would be your right side, the one that is next to your leg or your foot. Or you can bring both hands onto the mat wherever it feels comfortable. It's not necessarily to go to the absolute end ranges of the movement, just there where you feel comfortable. But you should also feel a stretch. That's the purpose of the class. Anyway, of course, movement is always beneficial. So whatever you do on your mat usually yields some results or something beneficial for your body. If nothing else, you are just relaxing after your long day, and that's super important as well. And tuning yourself into your body. That's something that we forget in the middle of our day. Now, coming back to the center, if that's not where you are already, and we are going to stretch our back leg now. So the quadricep muscles, we can either actively do this so that we are going to bend our leg in and hold the stretch here. Now you might want to lift your upper body up a little bit so that you feel the stretch. For some individuals, this will feel crampy on the hamstrings, but try and bear with me if you can. Now, if you can hold it here, just be welcome to stay there, or you can take your right hand and circle it behind your body and grab a hold of your foot. Here, this allows you to be less active on the position, and you can sort of like hold the leg with your hand. Although I am aware that not all of you will be able to grab that foot, and if you can't, just try and actively hold the foot up if possible. Take breaks if needed. We are going to hold it for a couple of more breaths here. Intense pose, but a very nice opener for the hips all around, on both legs really. Then we gently return that foot back down. We are going to circle our hand back to the center. We are going to step to there where we came from, and now we go to the left side. So the left foot steps front, outside of the left hand, and we are going to lower our hips here, taking gaze forward. So always trying to find a nice posture. That posture really helps you to deepen those stretches. Because if I'm slouched over, I won't feel much because now my spine is rounded and I'm not active. But if I really keep a nice posture, I'm gonna really feel much on my hips. And the reason why that is because our fascia is really transferring force in our system. So it's not like what happens in the hips stays in the hips, or what happens in the shoulders stays in the shoulders, but it's all linked together. Now we can either stay here, or we can lower our elbows onto the mat, wherever you feel the most comfortable. Or comfortable is not always the right word, because there might be some discomfort when we are stretching, especially when we are doing deeper holds. It might feel a little bit discomfort in the muscles, but it is a slightly different feeling to feel uncomfortable in the muscles than feel uncomfortable in the joints, and the positions just don't feel right for you, because those are not really the discomfort places where we want to go. So it should always feel healthy for the system. Okay, now you can either press up to where you came from, or you can stay where you were. And now we can bend our back leg in, finding a nice posture here. You can either stay this keep it active, or you can circle your left hand behind your body, grab a hold of that foot and relax in this binding position. So you are holding your leg, you are pulling it in, and you are finding a stretch here. So although it's not relaxing, you are relaxing your hamstrings on your back leg because you don't need to actively pull the leg up. And hamstring curls can be slightly hard if you don't practice them in your daily, or not daily, but maybe weekly workout schedule. Couple of more breaths here. I know that it can feel a little bit uncomfortable at times. Gently releasing that bind. So gently lowering leg down, lowering hand back to the center, stepping back to where we came from, pushing hips back into that child pose. We are going to hold it here for a little moment before we go to the next movement. Now our next movement is going to be a pigeon pose. So we are going to tuck our toes under, step into a, or flip into a plank, and we are going to step our right foot to the front of the mat. So the right knee lowers down behind the right wrist. So we are going to lower that shin down here. We are going to find an angle to the knee which feels comfortable. So it shouldn't feel like a twist on the knee, but it should feel like you can find a stretch on the right buttock here while feeling comfortable on the knee. So for some people, the knee needs to be more bent, or some people it needs to be a little bit more open. And generally speaking, the more open it is, the more stretch we feel on the glutes. But again, I don't want to challenge you to go there where you don't feel good on your joints. So always listen to your body. That's what tells you the best. Now, if you found your nice position, you can push your weight up slightly so that you are slightly more proud here. Your hips should be next to each other. So often the left hip wants to escape backwards, and that kind of like takes the stretch off from your glutes, so you don't feel it there anymore. So try and remain proud, sit both hips next to each other. Now, if this feels quite all right for you, you can try and extend your hands in front of your body. I don't know if I'm in the camera, so please forgive me, my hands are now cut off, but what I'm doing here, I'm just stretching my hands to the front and I'm laying on top of my leg. So this can either do two things. You can either lose slightly focus on your glutes, so you wouldn't be stretching it so much, or it can feel a little bit better as a stretch or a little bit deeper. So we are always aiming to find a better stretch rather than just going somewhere where we are just chilling. So you should follow that guidance. So stay there where it feels the most best for you. Next inhalation brings us back to the center. Now instead of stepping back into that plank, we are gonna lower our weight on the right buttock here, and we are gonna pull that left leg in. So now the left knee is next to the right foot, and we are gonna flatten those feet on the mat, and we are gonna shift our knees to the other side of the mat. And now here we are gonna find that same pigeon pose. So we are gonna straighten right leg behind the body and find that perfect angle for the left knee on top of the mat or at the back of the mat currently. Finding that same stretch here. You should really feel good on the hips. So the stretch should be found on the left glutes, holding it there. I should remind you also to always stay engaged on your core. So try and not be just super slack, but engage on the lower abdominal muscles. Not super engaged, but holding everything together. Being proud here. Remember that your left hip should be next to your right one. Now if you feel that you still have a little room to move, you can extend your hand in front of your body and lower your head down onto your mat, holding it here, or just hold it there where you feel the stretch more. Again, it should feel good for your body, and you're always free to mobilize yourself a little bit if you need to. Try and take yourself out of the position if it feels too much. On your next inhalation, push yourself up into the center if you were not already. Now tip your toes under on the right foot and lift your leg up and return into that plank. Now, because we are on the back of the mat, we are going to start with the left leg. So we are going to step to the outside of the left hand here, finding a lizard. So we are going to press our back leg straight. So our knee is super straight there. And taking a gaze forward, being active on our shoulder blades. This is your last indent sequence, so bear with me. You are doing so well. So taking the gaze forward to the back of your mat. Here we are going to turn into a Cossack squat. So what's going to happen? We are going to turn our left heel outside of the mat, and we are going to turn our right toes up to the sky. We are going to find a squat here. So if this feels uncomfortable for you, by all means, just don't go there. Hold your lizard for one more moment, wherever you feel comfortable, okay? That should always be the goal. So here, if you feel comfortable, remember to push your knee open so it should go in alignment with your toes. And we can either stay here or take our right fingertips up to the sky into a slight twist here. Now bringing our hands onto the mat, and we are going to push our weight up, and then we are going to just travel to the right side of the mat. The same thing here. We are going to lower into that Cossack squat, or you can come directly into the lizard pose, which we did before this Cossack squat. So if this is not accessible for you yet, then just by all means go there where it feels comfortable for you. This is an intense stretch on the hamstrings of the straight leg, 100%. And from here, remember to push your knee open. That is super important, so it's not collapsing inside of the toes. And then either stay here or take left fingertips up to the sky. A little bit more active here. Now from here, taking hands onto the mat, turning into that lizard. So now we are on the same position where we came from. Finding a stretch here, straightening that back leg. So pressing that knee super straight on the back. That intensifies the stretch on the hip flexors. Couple more breaths. You got this. We are so close now. And stepping back into that plank. Now we are going to walk our feet slightly forward to the center of the mat. We are going to lower our hips down. We are going to put our weight onto our back. So we're just going to lay back on the mat. From here, we are going to take our right foot up to the sky, and we are going to grab a hold of the right big toe here. So now you can either bend your knee in, or you can try and keep your legs straight if you feel like quite flexible here. But for most of you, I would assume that the knee is slightly bent, and if the knee is bent here, you can pull that knee more towards your armpit. Or if you feel that it's accessible, you can keep that leg straight while holding your big toe here. On your next inhalation, bend that knee in. If it wasn't already, bring it back down. Now left foot up to the sky, grabbing a hold of the left big toe, either keeping legs straight or bending in. If you're bent, you can pull that knee towards your armpit or straightening that leg if it's accessible. Holding here for 5 breaths. Now bending that knee in, lowering foot down. We are gonna go into a hip bridge from here. So make sure that your gaze is forward all the time. Your neck is straight. So on hip bridge, I would never advise you to look to the side, but always keep your neck straight. And from here, lifting hips up all the way. What we are gonna do now, we are gonna walk our shoulders slightly underneath our body. So we feel that we can elevate slightly more, and maybe we can take a hold of each hand so we can interlock our fingers underneath and walk those shoulders even slightly more if possible. Holding it here, trying to keep those fingers interlocked. Bringing hips up. And gently lowering hips down. Releasing our arms by the side of the body. Relaxing our legs to the front of the mat. Holding here, just relaxing. Now just trying to relax each of the muscle of your body. Relax your feet, relax your leg, relax your hips. Is one of them holding more tension? Is the right one a little bit tense? Breathe into that hip area. Release through the nose. In through the nose and slowly out through the nose. The slower the exhalation, the better. Relax your facial muscles if you can. Relax your arms. On your next inhalation, you can wiggle your fingers and your toes, and you can slightly return back to the reality unless you went to sleep already, which is also absolutely cool. Now taking your knees in, rolling into a seated, and you are ready to go. I hope you guys enjoyed this flow. Let me know in the comments if it was something that you would like to see more in the channel. Do smash the like button and share this video with your friend, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Bye bye.